Hi, everyone, and welcome to the TechsPassion podcast. In today's episode, I want to discuss cool projects that you can do using your Raspberry Pi or Raspberry Pi alternatives. The reason I say alternatives, it's been really difficult to get a Raspberry Pi at the MSRP price. In fact, my first episode ever on this podcast style was reviewing Raspberry Pi alternatives. Then I ended up reviewing the Renegade and Lee Potato from Libre Computer on my channel. Those videos are available on my channel. I highly recommend you check them out. But I digress. So, as I was doing some research looking for projects that I can feature on this channel, I thought I share some cool projects that I run into and we can discuss them in today's episode. Maybe in the future, I will choose one of those projects and make like a separate specific video and going into detail and building one of those projects. Let me know if you're interested and which one of those projects would you do? Have you done any of these? But let's get into it. The first one here that definitely spiked my interest is I see some kind of what they're calling it is running Chat GPT on Raspberry Pi, which that's not really the case, but you can use Chat GPT as the assistant or the smart assistant that running on the Raspberry Pi using the API. So, for example, if you send a question to Chat GPT, and then whatever response that comes back, you can use Azure text to speech to play that on the Raspberry Pi. So kind of the Chat GPT is um, the assistant that is running on the Raspberry Pi. Not really, but like through the API. The next project here that I really want to do at some point is the RetroPie. This is kind of a GitHub software. Like there's an open source where you can download on the and install on the Raspberry Pi, and you can play these old games that we used to play when we were kids. You know, the Atari games and the Sega games. Technically, the arcade style games. Very interesting. I definitely want to make some time, and at some point, I want to try the RetroPie. I believe this one is only compatible with the Raspberry Pi. I haven't looked into it really deep. At some point, I really do want to take a look. However, I believe this one is only compatible with the Raspberry Pi. Let's go to the next one here that made it to my list, which is the home automation. We all have these smart assistant, right? Like I have the Google Assistant. You probably have Alexa, or there are plenty of different ones, but you can actually use your Raspberry Pi to control a lot of stuff. In fact, like the first Raspberry Pi project I did was controlling the AC in my old apartment using a Raspberry Pi. But these home automation projects are really cool. Right now, like everything in my uh, apartment is automated using like the Google Assistant or like the light switches have the locks, everything is connected to the Google Assistant, and then I can control everything from my phone. But you can technically do the same thing with the Raspberry Pi. Really cool. The next project here is you can build your own weather station. So I've always thought about doing like a weather station using some weather API from the Raspberry Pi. You ping those APIs, get the result back, and based on the result, maybe you have a motor that spins in a certain speed based on the wind condition, for example, or based on the temperature. You can turn on a blue LED versus a red LED, something like that. I thought that would be a really nice project to do. All right, the next project here is these robots. Obviously, you can buy these from like Amazon or AliExpress and only worry about coding. However, you can also like 3D print the part and do the design and everything. That's what I usually like to do. There are a lot of these also you can get off Thingiverse. So if you're into 3D printing and putting the hardware together, that would be also cool. But if you only want to worry about coding and um, controlling the hardware, you can always buy the pre-built from like Amazon and then worry about just doing your software. There are a couple of these projects on my channel already, and there is going to be a lot more coming soon. So stay tuned. but this is the what I really enjoy doing on the channel here. So yeah, Raspberry Pi robots are cool. Another project here is the Raspberry Pi NAS. Recently, I've been in the market for a storage, and I thought about doing my own Raspberry Pi NAS. As I'm making these YouTube videos, I'm finding myself that I need more storage space to have all these backup files, and video takes so much space. So um, NAS devices are very expensive. So I thought about building my own. Maybe you can get like an external hard drive, connect that to the Raspberry Pi, and do that through the network where you can upload your files. And it's kind of like a cheaper way to have your own NAS. That's one that I'm looking at and see if I can if I'll make one, I'll share on the channel for sure. Another cool things to do here is using the ultrasonic distance sensor. For example, I do have a video on my channel opening and closing a box using the distance sensor. So as you get close to it, it'll open the box, and depending on the distance, obviously there are different use cases. I recommend you check that out and then maybe repurpose that code to fit your project. Another cool sensor I like to use is the light sensor. The light sensor is really nice since you can, for example, control the light to switch on when it's dark, and you can automate the light to turn off when there's already light, like when, let's say, when the sun comes on. You can automate the blinds in your house based on like if it's sunny or not. Things like that you can do with light sensor are really cool. And the last here on my list is the media center. So you can there are these like open source software that you can install on the Raspberry Pi, and they will convert or turn your Raspberry Pi into a media center for your own videos and pictures. Basically, kind of giving you a Netflix experience for your own videos, pictures, and you can share those within your own network. Pretty cool. I thought this one worth mentioning. I haven't tried that one, but let me know if you have. Yeah, that's what I have for today's video. Let me know if you tried any of these projects. If there are any other projects that you think are cool that I might have missed, please mention them in the comments. Let me know which one you're interested in, and I will try to implement these on the channel and maybe make a separate video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.